Good evening and thank you for joining us. Ontario's Solicitor General was in Thunder Bay today to announce the purchase of new fire trucks for unincorporated areas in Northern Ontario, as well as 2 new mobile live fire training units.
Michael Kersner made the announcement at FireCon, which is being held at the Valhalla this year. Lee Noonan was there and she joins us now live in studio. Lee?
Thanks, Riley. There will be 17 new fire trucks coming to rural communities in the Northwest and the Northeast. The new mobile training units aren't specifically staying in the North, but having them will double capacity and improve access for fire departments everywhere in the province. The province pegs the cost of 2 new mobile live fire training units, 17 new fire trucks, and other firefighter equipment at close to $35 million. Solicitor General Michael Kersner announced the purchase at FireCon in Thunder Bay.
The investment of these assets will provide our northern firefighters, many of whom are volunteers, with the equipment and training needed to save lives.
The 2 new mobile training units, similar to this one, will double the Ontario Fire College's complement of units from 2 to 4. Ontario Fire Marshal John Pegg says the existing units are fully booked and will travel to 47 locations, training nearly 4,000 more firefighters this year.
Having additional units available to support Northern Ontario communities gives us the opportunity to reach more fire departments and more firefighters, who in turn will be better trained and ready to meet the demands of the firefighter profession.
Thunder Bay Atikokan MPP Kevin Holland, a former firefighter himself, says live fire training provides a crucial hands-on experience for firefighters that can't be replicated. He says the mobile units are particularly important to rural northern fire departments.
For volunteers in particular, when they have to leave their community to go to training, so a 3-day training now turns into a 5 or a 6-day training, and they're losing time off work. They're losing time away from the family, and they're pulling the volunteers out of their communities for this training. So to be able to bring that training into the community is really vital.
The 17 new fire trucks and other equipment, which includes self-contained breathing apparatus and thermal imaging cameras, will be going to unincorporated townships covered by the Northern Fire Protection Program, which includes 48 communities, more than half of which are in the Northwest.
The benefits that these communities will receive with these 17 fire trucks, new fire trucks, to name a few, will improve resource deployment, maintenance costs, and distribution across the North, meaning saved lives in a timelier manner when every second counts. When absolutely every second counts.
A government spokesperson did not provide a timeline for delivery of the trucks and equipment and said they've yet to decide exactly where each truck will go, pending an assessment that will consider call volume and the age of existing equipment. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
A man accused in the death of a 48-year-old Edmonton First Nation man has been found unfit to stand trial. 20-year-old Ethan Waboose was charged with second-degree murder in the death of Brian Sagach in Edmonton last December. A fitness assessment was ordered by the court back in February. Waboose appeared in a Thunder Bay courtroom last week to determine next steps. The court could impose a mandatory treatment order, but in cases where the accused is deemed unfit, the matter has to go before the Ontario Review Board.
A recently retired Thunder Bay police officer has pleaded guilty to an impaired driving charge. 52-year-old Pam Cash was off duty in late July when her pickup truck went into a ditch and struck a tree near the corner of Highway 588 and Barrie Drive. A bottle of vodka was found under the driver's seat, and breath samples showed she was nearly 2 times the legal limit. Cash appeared in court today to enter a guilty plea to 1 count of driving with a blood alcohol concentration over 80 milligrams. She received a $2,000 fine and a 1-year driving prohibition.
City Councillor Trevor Gertuga wants the city to commit $3 million from the Renew Thunder Bay Reserve Fund for the Waterfront Trail Development Project. His motion is set to come to council on Monday.
Bring people to the community, help retain people in the community, and invite people to the community. So it's just another tourism piece that if we're going to do it anyways, and we have this money in reserve, and we can get matching funding, why not do it now? Why not try to hurry it up?
The $3 million commitment would go toward the bridge at the Richardson Grain Terminal. The total price tag for that project would be $9 million, and Gertuga says the local money would only be used if the city finds other levels of government or the private sector to cover the rest. A completed 13.5-kilometer waterfront trail would run from Fisherman's Park south to the Jackknife Bridge via Mission Marsh. Gertuga says the bridge is a crucial part of the trail that, once completed, will be enjoyed by the whole community.
We have 52 kilometers of water line, right? Why aren't we, developing it? I mean, look at other cities that they've developed their waterfront, and you can go for miles along the waterfront and rollerblade, walk. It's something that everyone can use at no cost.
The trail is expected to take more than a decade to construct at a total cost of more than $25 million.
Thunder Bay's Rock and Recovery event turned 10 this year, and although yesterday's rain forced the event to be moved from Marina Park to the Howl at the Moon Dry Saloon, it was live streamed to allow people to tune in. Several guest speakers were there to open up about their battles with addiction.
Healing is definitely an inside job. You're responsible for your own healing. Sure, there are resources and services to help you, but it's up to you to do the work.
Rock and Recovery is a night of storytelling where speakers share their experiences recovering from addiction. There were also opportunities to hear directly from service organizations working on the front lines. The night was organized in partnership between the Drug Awareness Committee, the District Health Unit, and the city's Drug Strategy Initiative. The city's acting director of Strategic Initiatives and Engagement, Cynthia Olson, spoke with us about how it went, despite the last-minute venue change.
It was a resounding success. It was really lovely that we were able to pivot so quickly and find an indoor location. Didn't mean we have to downsize to, the general public as far as being in person, but being able to live stream it. At the end of the night, we had already 1,000 views, and sometime today we checked and there was 2,400, and a reach even as far as Australia.
Those who missed it can access a recording of the live stream on the Drug Awareness Committee's official Facebook page.
A disturbing report from Ontario's Ombudsman reveals major cracks in the government's handling of long-term care homes during the peak years of COVID-19.
It's being called a collapse in government oversight. Allison Hurst has the story.
As seniors in long-term care lived in isolation during the pandemic, oversight mechanisms largely collapsed. This, according to the Ontario Ombudsman report.
The breakdown of the system, the lack of inspections was across the board, and the problems that we signaled were across the board.
It found over a 7-week period during the first wave, there were no on-site inspections.
During those 7 weeks, 720 people died in homes. I'm sure that they can't all be attributed to COVID, but you'd like to think that with adequate inspections, with rigorous inspections, with rigorous enforcement of the regulations, that safety would be optimized for residents and staff.
Orchard Villa was one of the worst hit in that initial wave.
When you think 3 years in, you know it all, and then you find out that you don't, it was hurtful.
Kathy Park's father was one of them. She says the report shows there was no urgency in dealing with the crisis.
There was such dysfunction in the ministry that the inspection branch had no idea what the ministry knew about Orchard Villa.
According to the report, about a week after the outbreak started at Orchard Villa, a staff person called the ministry and said there is no staff to feed and care for residents and that living conditions are like hell. The report adds, ministry inspectors did not enter homes during the peak of the first wave, so there was little external oversight as homes struggled to meet residents' basic needs.
Our long-term care ministers effectively allowed these inspectors to just stay home and phone it in. And we're actually told to be in a more, supportive versus investigative role.
The report finds the ministry had no plan for inspections. It failed to assess COVID-related complaints as high risk and often took low-level enforcement action against homes. Reaction has been swift.
This is a massive and unforgivable failure on behalf of this government.
How could we be ready in those homes if we're not even getting the basics right by doing a quality inspection?
The Ombudsman made 76 recommendations. The ministry tells CTV News it has accepted all of the Ombudsman's recommendations and has made progress on half. which includes investing $72.3 million to double the number of new long-term care inspection staff, enhancing compliance and enforcement measures.
I would love to see the government step up and say, yes, we really need to change it and then do it. But I don't have any faith.
Parks hopes that faith is restored.
And that was Alison Hurst reporting. New Ontario Housing Minister Paul Calandra is staying busy on his second day on the job.
He says he's committed to working with the implementation task force by protecting land and building homes at the same time.
We're going to work together so that we increase, that we meet those recommendation goals, so that we can meet our goal of 1.5 million homes, and we won't be strayed on that. I think we can do both. We can protect our natural heritage while also meeting our targets to ensure that future generations have all the same benefits that I did as a kid and have the same ability to contribute to our province as others have had.
The ministry will soon launch a website that will outline the government's progress with constant updates as the government moves forward. Lakehead University paid tribute to residential school survivors with a special flag-raising ceremony this morning. LU officials and Indigenous leaders gathered to raise the National Truth and Reconciliation flag on the steps outside of the Agora. The survivors' flag is meant to honor all the lives and communities impacted by Canada's residential school system. A crowd of roughly 100 people looked on as the flag was raised by Elder Catherine McGuire, whose Indigenous name is Kaganish. She's a residential school survivor and a Lakehead graduate. LU President Jillian Siddall spoke about how important it is for their students to have access to this type of information while on campus.
I think that universities have a critical role to play in truth and reconciliation, and I think that it is incumbent upon universities to make sure that our students have that opportunity to learn that history, to learn that truth, and then be part of the journey of reconciliation.
It's very appreciated by the survivors when we have individuals and people that come out and wear their orange T-shirts, and when we see them hanging on the homes of the citizens here in Thunder Bay, and other things that they do, such as raising this flag.
Lakehead University will host several free events which are open to the public throughout the month of September, leading up to the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation on September 30th.
50 Canadian and international films are being showcased at the 19th annual Vox Popular Media Arts Festival.
The launch party begins at 7 o'clock this evening at the Definitely Superior Art Gallery. The festival also includes a visual art exhibit and live performances. Joe Sadowski has the story.
This year's Vox Popular Media Arts Festival is loaded with some award-winning films from all over the world. Director of the festival, Adrian Harpel, says that the weekend has fun and entertainment for anyone and everyone, including a visual art exhibit at the Definitely Superior Art Gallery. He says it's an amazing way for the community to support local arts and filmmakers.
This festival is really important to our community, especially because we pay professional artist fees to Canadian and local artists. It's a way for them to present their work in a public setting, which is not always offered. And it's just really important to support local arts and to support local filmmakers.
The festival will be including 14 locally produced films and documentaries about the Northwest. One of those was produced by Harpel's parents, Kelly Saxberg and Ron Harpel, about the restoration of the Chippewa Park Carousel. There's also a film about an Indigenous sniper from northwestern Ontario in World War II, and a feature-length Anishinaabe-told documentary about the Ring of Fire, Martin Falls, and Webequai First Nations called Bridges to the North, which tells the story of communities trying to bring roads to their lands. Director of the film, Tony McGuire, says it took 15 years to produce, and he's excited to see the emotion of the story portrayed on the big screen for the public to see.
After 15 years of shooting up north and doing media for mostly Webequai and then later on Martin Falls, and we consult up there, we were really excited to get their story out. And we just decided to take an approach of capturing their raw emotion of excitement over the environmental assessment, maybe leading to roads, and also the history of how they even got to that point.
Another local film being featured is about the canceled basic income pilot project by the Ford government in 2018.
The documentary that we started making at the beginning was very different than the documentary it became because the pilot was canceled and because the lives of those that we were documenting, it became a little negative because the program got canceled really abruptly, so people weren't ready.
Along with these local films, you can catch 50 different films going on at the Vox Popular Arts Festival, going on here at the Definitely Superior Art Gallery on Cumberland Street, and the festival is going on from September the 7th until the 10th all weekend long. Joe Sadowski, TBT News.